Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. All right, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So just remind me, if you can't hear me back there, just remind me and I'll speak up a little bit louder. I'm actually here from Southern California. I teach for I've taught for the psychology, the biology, and the human development departments. So in other words, my work, my ideas, my thoughts, no departmental boundaries of the university. And I think when we're talking about human behavior, that's probably not a bad way to think. Instead of sectioning it into, psychology, biology, religiosity, human study, whatever it is, like an interdisciplinary point is a comfortable point, at least for me, when we address big problems like the human being, which in my humble opinion is probably one of the most complicated machines on this earth, not just in this galaxy. So I really like this quote to kind of anchor this talk. We are not human beings on a spiritual journey, but spiritual beings on a human journey. We're all so obsessed with what do you do and describing who we are in terms of verbs and actions, and we seldom ask about what are the nouns that describe us, right? And at least in my head, nouns tend to be much more stronger, permanent way of describing someone than like a verb that has a temporal dimension. Either it's in the past and it's done, it's in the future and it hasn't begun, or the present and it might end. Human beings, we can start to think of ourselves in terms of our nouns and the things that describes us well. These statistics, which are probably an underestimate, right? We have a statistics person here, so she probably can explain this better. 1 every 5 Americans suffer from a mental disorder. Muslims are no exceptions to these statistics. Like sometimes when you present this, people are like, well, that's not us. We don't have mental disorders. We don't have mental illnesses. Depression is the second leading cause of disability worldwide. The economic burden of mental illness, we're talking about in the trillions of dollars. So if we are not interested in fixing mental health, we should at least try to fix it out of trying to save money and economical reasons, if we can't find realistic reasons. 1 every 10 dies from alcohol-related cause. So how does religiosity and spirituality address this, or does it have anything to say about this at all? So a little caveat I like to kind of give before I talk about anything scientific that is somewhat intersecting or wedding with religiosity, spirituality, and Islam, is that the two kind of fields are made out of different materials, right? With the idea of faith, if you can see it, if you can measure it, if you can observe it, then you don't need faith, right? Then it's too late for faith if you already have seen it. So that the idea of faith and Iman is very different from the scientific method that you must provide evidence, that you must provide measurements. So they're two different things. Also, we do have in Islam a concept of the 6th article of Iman that requires Muslims to believe in the Qada and Qadar, or the ultimate destiny. We also have what's called givens, musallamat, that we don't need to prove and we don't have to prove. And we should have no question about proving, because this is something that we're supposed to just believe in. So given all of these things, I wanted to kind of preface this by saying, I'm not here to use science to say, yeah, religiosity is good, and that therefore we should be Muslims. That's not the idea. It's not like that at all. But rather are there any benefits from religiosity and spirituality that can benefit mental illness and mental health? And we're going to begin talking from very scientific, secular way of thinking about this, to moving a little bit into what does Islam say about this, to in the 3rd section giving you no definitive answer about this problem. I just want to let you know that ahead of time. So the reason why I like such topic to be looked at academically is that then religiosity and spirituality get some respect. So when I was doing my PhD in neuroscience in the biological department, there was this idea that, if you believe in God, that you're very simple-minded. And there's no way you can be, you can elevate to the lofty place of scientific thinking if you believe in God. Like, how could the two? That must be so, you think in magical, mystical things. How could you believe in science? So having spirituality and religiosity, sell and boast and brag about its benefits for multiple things, including mental health, is a good thing. Health professionals have accepted the spiritual dimension. We no longer talk about body and mind. We now talk about that third dimension, body, mind, and spirit. Bestseller books have something to do with religiosity and spirituality. Every time I travel, and I go into the store to tell myself I'm not going to buy one more nonfiction book, and I say no, and I walk away with two. There's always that section of like some spiritual awakening, some spiritual things always being sold. Some of the bestsellers have to do with spirituality. Mainstream medical journals have now addressed topics where they intersect health in general with spirituality and religiosity. Courses at university, entire departments are dedicated to the studies of religiosity and how it intersects with health and mental health. Chaplains are now on university. I just got back from an entire spiritual retreat that was supported and paid for by Georgetown University to kind of like use spirituality to help students. So these things have now been grounded at all of these institutions. Here is one thing that I got from a hospital website talking about spiritual and religious care. Our spiritual and religious care team is an integral part of the healthcare system. It's no longer something that's on the side, but now there is this understanding this is a very essential. And these kind of statements are usually made for people who are in the terminal illness wing, and then they tell them, well, would you like some spiritual help? Well, why not benefit from it before getting to terminal illness? Spirituality, they did this study at UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, where it was the first study to really target spirituality, religiosity, and look at these students and see, does it help them academically, right? Very provocative question. And this was the first study, it was just done recently, and they followed these students for 7 years. And what they found was remarkable. Therefore, we have chaplains at universities. Is that authors found that spiritual growth on campuses is actually good for their grades, for their academic success. Not only that, but it makes students who graduate, who have the spiritual dimension in terms of their growth development, much better citizens in the world, much more aware of justice, social justice issues in the world. This helped with the idea of why not have chaplains at universities. So studies showing the beneficial effects on religiosity on mental health. So let's now kind of like zone in a little bit and quarter this kind of idea and see how it contributes to mental health and mental illness. A big study that was done by Dr. Ferreira, they define religiosity here as regular prayers, read religious literature, attended a religious place. So we also moved away from long time ago, the idea of religiosity or spirituality was you don't have to do anything. You just sit and you're like, not doing anything. We moved away from that idea, and what's very clear from research is that for religiosity to confer any benefit, there has to be rituals, behaviors, some sort of reading of the text in that religion, whatever that religion is. And what we reported in this study is that religiosity, people who were able to fulfill these criteria, it helped them with reducing the risk of health problems in half. It cut that risk in half. It helped them with lower rates of depression and anxiety, suicidal rates. So they did this other very interesting study where they basically had the computer generate random numbers for these patients that were coming in to get some sort of cardiovascular surgery. And basically each person was randomly assigned to either be prayed for or not prayed for. They don't know that they're getting prayed for or not. The person praying for them, the nurse that's treating them, doesn't know whether the person that she's treating is getting prayed for or not. And then they looked at, well, what happens to the people who got prayed for, who don't know they're getting prayed for, neither does the doctor or the nurse that's treating them. And what they found that the people who were prayed for, that they prayed for, that these patients were 5 times less likely to require antibiotics, that they were 3 times less likely to require further procedures, and that none of the patients in the group who were prayed for ended up dying. Okay, so these are really amazing results. Again, this is a double-blind study. This other study found that people who are, again, actively involved in their religion. This is not like I believe in higher power and I'm going to do nothing about it and hopefully the higher power takes care of it. It's nothing like that. That people who are kind of involved in their religion actively, that this practice adds 7 to 14 years to their life. Like seriously, if I was a pharmaceutical company and I'm selling some sort of medication and I tell you that this on average is going to increase your lifespan by a decade to a decade and a half, I would be a millionaire, right? But unfortunately, this is something that's, that's for free. It's not really bottled up. And by the way, these results in all of these studies, they've controlled for many things: education level, marital status, for a lot of things. So, to the best of my knowledge, there aren't these kind of confounding variables. What's kind of like spirituality? If we want to come up with a definition for spirituality, one definition that I kind of like and is the definition I teach in my stress management and stress classes, because spirituality is an important aspect of stress management. Is this definition that I borrowed from Oakland and Hassan that has 5 criteria. One is that there's a sense of meaning and purpose in life. And that's why many people commit suicide, is that they realize that, well, what is the meaning? What is the purpose? Existentialist crisis, they call it. There are many people who are very successful, and once they climax all the way to the top of what their goal was, the tallest mountain, and they end up committing suicide because they realize I lived all of these years to try to accomplish to get to this, and I didn't think it was going to happen, and it happened. And there's no next. There was no plan for next, and that was the tallest thing they can get to, and they end up committing suicide. Faith in God or higher power was the second criteria. A feeling of connection to others, and that you are part of something bigger, which is certainly something that we have in Islam. Not only do we have connections and compassion for others, as the criteria for says, but also we have connections, like the concept of ummah, right? Larger society, for a lack of a better translation, is the concept that you are connected as a person a la carte, without any kind of temporal or spatial dimension. In other words, you are connected to every prophet that you have never seen, ever, right? Neither did your parents or your grandparents. That you are connected to the ways of the way that the prophet, peace be upon him, lived. You are connected to the Sahaba that lived with him. You are connected to the Tabi'een that came after him. You're connected to all of this. You are not bound to a particular geographic location. So you are a part of this big, big, big fabric that has no time or space dimension. So definitely, I love that criteria because it's just so fulfilled in Islam. Having compassion for others, right? In Islam, just like you have rights, you also have, there's our concept of family obligations, right? There's the concept of your friends have rights upon you. I remember my Islamic studies teacher telling me that, neighbors long time ago, before painting their house, they'd go and ask their neighbor, I'm going to paint my house this color, is this offensive to you? Right? So there's neighborhood rights, there's friendship rights, there's spousal rights, there's teacher rights, there's the poor rights upon us, there's all of this, mandated compassion, if you will. And then there's the fifth component, again, this is kind of like a secular definition of defining this, is participation in religious behaviors and rituals. And in Islam, we have daily rituals, we have yearly rituals, and we have once-in-a-lifetime rituals. So definitely fulfilled there. So spirituality provides a meaning and purpose, which is a really important axis around which we orbit our entire life. And when that axis is gone, we kind of like get randomly, all of these random movements, and then we end up not in a very good place. So one of the best sellers in the history of books is this book that was written by psychoanalyst Viktor Frankl, because it talked about what? Man's search for meaning. And this is a Holocaust survivor, so meaning in suffering. And people who fail to find meaning in suffering, or redefine suffering, or understand the dimensions of suffering, they really don't do well in life. Because life, I don't know any person before, after, during my lifetime who is not going to encounter any kind of suffering. Right? This is the ABCs of life in this world. So a person who's able to find meaning in suffering via things like spirituality and religion and belief in God are going to do better. Okay? And that's why that book sold millions of copies. Because that was everybody's question. Everybody's looking for meaning. Why I'm here. Atheists and religious alike. So learning that the most difficult times in life can bring meaning and change really the whole experience with trauma in a completely different way. You know, like in some cultures, certainly not the Western one, when things break, what they do is that they glue the pieces back together. They don't sell it and look for the new I-10, no. But they actually glue it back together and they fill in the gap with whatever powder that they have, such as gold or silver. And it becomes a more beautiful piece after it was broken. That's the whole idea, or that should be the approach that we take to suffering and traumatic experiences. It is our second chance that once our ego has shattered as a result of this experience or traumatic experience, that we now have a second chance to rebuild this and glue it together however we want and fill in these gaps with whatever precious kind of material that we have. And religiosity and spirituality can help with that process. In one study where they looked at serious cancer patients who had recurrence of cancer, certainly it's very easy to lose hope once you've already fought for your life and you think you won, and there again you get cancer again and again and again. But even in such a